North Kingstown School Committee. If I could ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Madam Clerk, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Glasbach?
Here.
Mrs. Hildebrand?
Here.
Mrs. Hoskins?
Here.
Mr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Mather?
I see him.
You see him? Okay.
Could you just say hello again? We couldn't hear you.
Here.
Oh, there we go. Now we do.
Thank you. Mrs. Schott?
Mr. Mather, your audio is pretty weak. You may want to make an adjustment.
And Joe Vento, student representative, who I don't see.
Okay. We'll keep an eye out. All right, and so next, if you could please call the calendar.
On Monday, December 7th of 2020 will be the biannual meeting with the town council, and Tuesday, December 8th is a school committee business meeting.
Thank you. Okay, and so superintendent's report, Mr. Vento wasn't here, and he did mention that he wanted to give that at another time, so I'm going to pass that at this point, which brings us to presentations and recognitions. Yeah, sorry.
Well, no, go ahead.
Before we start, I just want to mention that it is an election year, and we just had an election, and in that election, unfortunately, Mr. Jones has reached a point after serving our school committee for a great deal of time with great distinction, and we want to thank you very much for all the time that you put into it. I personally want to, and I know some other people do too, but want to thank you for being, I don't even really have the words, Bob. You've been a resource beyond resources. Your knowledge of the minutia of dealing with RIDE and budgets and policies and everything, it never ends. And I'm very, very, very sorry to not have you with us going forward. And I want to thank you so much for all the time and energy and everything that you put in over 8 years, right?
Yes, 8 years.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Flies when you're having fun.
And I just want to also just quickly mention that we had a little bit of some interesting back and forths with respect to the final seat on the school committee. There is a recount in progress, so we aren't 100% certain of the outcome, but as it stands right now, Mr. Mather is showing that he's probably been successful in his re-election campaign. We will know that hopefully from the Secretary of State, we're told, in time for our biennial annual meeting, which is when new members would take their seats. So we'll sort of hold off on congratulations to see that. And I also want to thank Hannah Zangari, whichever way this turns out, for throwing her hat into the ring. And we had some good conversations. And I know that if she ever chooses to give this a spin again, she would be a valued member of the committee if her recount doesn't work out. Dr. Ajay, I'll pass it off to you after those comments.
Sure, I'd like to reiterate the points you made about Mr. Jones. We will certainly miss you, Mr. Jones. I want to thank you for your 8 years on the committee. You've been a real support to the North Kingstown School Department, to our administration, and to me personally. I really appreciate that, and I don't know of anyone who's sharper on budget issues, or particularly charter schools. You are the Rhode Island expert in that field, and it's good to have you on our team. So thank you very much for that. I know Mrs. King would like to say a few words in that regard too.
So I'll try to take less than an hour, because that is about how long it would take me to say all the good things about Mr. Jones. I have worked with Mr. Jones for the entire time that I've been here. I started in May of 2012, and he came on the committee in December of 2012. And, Bob and I will chuckle at this. It was a little rocky at first, but it certainly did not take long for us to see, what a good partnership and a great working relationship we could have and we did have. I've worked, very closely with all the school committee members and many of them, including everybody on this committee, I've enjoyed working with, but I do have to say that, I have had a special working relationship with Mr. Jones, and I am going to really, really miss his guidance, and there is nobody that I've ever met in my entire life that can analyze a set of data and not make it look the way he wants it to look. He analyzes things and he gets to the bottom of things, like you just can't believe. He's an incredibly intelligent man, incredibly hardworking, and I know that I'm sure his family's going to be happy to have him back on Tuesday nights and all the other time that he's put in. And I know that everything else he'll continue to do, he'll be very successful. I do say that the district has lost a really, really valuable resource in all of the stuff that Mr. Jones has done and accomplished. And he's done it all quietly. He's not the kind looking for accolades, and I'm sure that he's not really even liking all of this right now, because I know how he is. But I can't say enough, Mr. Jones. Thank you so much for all of the guidance and the friendship and the help. I will truly, truly, truly miss working this closely with you. I hope that we are able to work together again in some capacity, and I know that this town will want to keep you as the resource and the wonderful citizen that you are to the town and that you have been to the students and the staff of the North Kingstown School Department.
Thank you. Ms. Hoskins, you have your hand?
I just wanted to reiterate what Mary said. I've been on the committee now for 4 years with Mr. Jones, and when I started with Raina, who had to leave the committee because she moved, he was just a great mentor and really helped us through a lot with his knowledge and his budget information, numbers. He's a numbers guy. So I just thank you, Bob, for all you've done for us. You're going to be really missed.
And I just want to add that I promise you that when we are looking at reports, we will continue to look for gender disparities in testing.
Yeah, one of us will take that up for you, Bob.
Dr. J, do you have any other recognitions?
We have a couple of grants. Dr. Mansiri, you want to report out on those?
Well, before we do that, because we have that on the agenda later on, right? Those are really
Just
different.
basically grant recognitions.
We can do that, and then we'll go the other.
Okay, either way.
So, Dr. Mansiri, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought I also have a couple of
You may want to take care of your video. Your audio is coming in real scratchy to me.
To the folks at home, no.
It's not any better.
Welcome to the world of Zoom.
Yeah. I don't know if you can go off and get back on.
Okay. In the meantime, Mrs. King, I know you wanted to mention a few things.
Yeah, I just wanted to recognize a few of business office staff. So, obviously without getting into a lot of details, we have had some staffing issues in the central office as well. And there are several people that if there are any other staff members on this call, and you get the opportunity, you should thank these specific people for the fact that we all were paid in the last two paychecks. Dina Anderson, who's a payroll clerk, Joanne Fuller, who's also a payroll clerk, Steve Janelle is our controller, and a really special shout out also to Stephanie Russo, who's our assistant controller, in helping to really try to organize as best she could with the staffing issues. They all deserve really great thanks from all of us. And then lastly, I'd also like to recognize Eileen McGivney, who is in our accounts payable receivable department. She's really kicked in as well. So we understand that the schools are having some staffing issues, but I think it's important to understand that the central office is impacted as well. And everybody is working together as a team, and those people really stood out for us.
Thank you. Dr. Mansiri, do you want to give that another try? Are you there?
I think she's.
Oh, you know what, hold on, I think she probably can't talk yet. Hold on a second, let me fix
She's
that.
just gotten in.
Okay. And I need to make it so she can speak. 1 second here. That should fix it. All right. Dr. Mansouri, you should be able to unmute now.
Can you hear me?
You can, much better.
Yes, I'm better.
Because I called it on my phone too, just in case.
This is working.
Okay. So I have a couple of academic recognitions. The first one is Bryan College Board are launching an initiative called Two Codes to Advance Key Educational Goals. The first one is understanding how the U.S. Constitution works, and the second is how technology can empower solutions to problems facing our world. And I would like to recognize Mr. Brendan Lamboy and Mr. Matt Lyons at North Kingstown High School for collaborating with the University of Rhode Island on their government and computer science initiatives, closely aligned with the Two Codes partnership. Both educators will be attending remote meetings this fall to integrate and create computer science applications to deliver governmental needs. An example would be creating an app that calculates exit polling results during political elections on a state or local level. That's the first one. Congratulations to those. The second one is Mr. Brendan Lamboy again. He has officially been selected to participate in URI's Broadening Participation course in Inclusive Teaching in Computer Science. This professional development began November 1st, 2020, and will continue as an online asynchronous 6-week course ending December 15th. We are thankful for Mr. Lamboy taking advantage of this opportunity to help us meet our goal of encouraging more female students to participate in computer science and STEM programs. And then I have another one, Wendy Valenti. Finally, we'd like to recognize Ms. Wendy Valenti for taking the initiative on a new opportunity offered by URI for North Kingstown High School computer science students to receive URI credits. The URI Department of Computer Science has recently vetted the Project Lead the Way curriculum is now allowing 3 Project Lead the Way computer science courses to receive URI college credit through their concurrent enrollment program. This is very exciting news. I wish you could see me. I am so excited over this one. I can't even stand it. So if they take it and they're successful, the 3 courses are AP Computer Science Principles, AP Computer Science A, and Cybersecurity. If students earn a grade of C or higher, they receive 4 transferable college credits. The transferable part is very beneficial to our students who do not attend URI. Our students have the opportunity to leave high school with 12 computer science college credits. This program is free for Rhode Island Public High Schools through the Prepare Rhode Island initiative. And Ms. Valenti contacted North Kingstown High School administration when this came about in April 2020. And she attended the workshops to learn about this initiative and has put processes in place for this to be a reality for our students. Ms. Valenti volunteered to attend all workshops required by URI to keep our partnership with URI. We are so thankful for her enthusiasm and dedication for our students. And I want to thank Shivali and Barbara at the high school for making sure I knew about these things, because this is the type of stuff we really want to make sure we're celebrating at all of our schools. And then finally, the part that Dr. J talked about is the Bradley Learning Exchange. Last Thursday, my office received a message that our professional learning for teacher assistants and teachers on Autism 101 and how they can better assist their students during this uncertain time would be billed. Scott Sylvester from Bradley Learning Exchange communicated to me about a grant they had received and how our double session would be underwritten by a grant Bradley and the Lifespan Group had received. In this uncertain budgetary time, where our teachers need more support and training than ever before, I could not think of a more timely communication. I'd like to thank Bradley Learning Exchange, and particularly those who work in the grant, and Scott Sylvester, their lead trainer, and also Ariana DeAngelis and Joe McFlynn, the trainers and presenters of our workshop, had a wonderful presence and ability to bring autism to regular educators and make the topic familiar with all their examples and stories. We're looking forward to our January special meeting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's all great news. Any other presentations or recognitions?
At this time.
Thank you. So the next item on our agenda is citizens' comments. As always, we ask if you could please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And when you begin to speak, if you could please state your name and address for the record. The way it works for anyone who hasn't done it before is we ask that you please, in the participants tab of Zoom, there's a button that you can use to raise your hand. When you do that, I will see that you have done so and will be able to recognize you. If you are, I don't think we have anyone on a phone except Dr. Mansieri who called in, and I don't see anyone in that situation, so I believe it's *9 if you're on a telephone. So I will recognize the first person that I see here, that is Mr. Michael Bento.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
You can, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Michael Bento, 40 Cassandra Lane, North Kingstown, Rhode Island. I will be speaking on the student liaison policy revision. In a time when student activism is more prevalent and encouraged, it seems the school committee is moving backwards. It is particularly distasteful how some members on this board are looking to intentionally diminish the roles of student participation in local government. It's frightening. This move is upsetting but not surprising. Some members of the school committee and school department have expressed unease about student participation. I know who they are, and they know who they are. Perhaps it is easier for them if students simply do not challenge the decision-making of the committee. I am confident that this decision to roll back student opportunities will be reversed when a stronger and more sympathetic school committee will be sworn in during December. But why wait for a reversal? Joe has been sitting at the table for such a long time. He's done his absolute best to communicate with you all. He was excited to engage with local politicians. He wants the same for every student that follows him. No exceptions. President Cedar and Vice President Grace deserve these opportunities. Examine the national trend here. Follow your moral compass. If you even question whether what you're doing is right or not, then please table this motion. I'm aware that some of you have looked into what other districts do regarding student representation. Even if no other district in the universe does what North Kingstown does, why do we have to stoop down to the levels of other districts, ordinary districts? The NK School Committee has the opportunity to remain extraordinary by providing students with a voice and a seat. Let's keep it that way. It is elementary. Your vote will be on record. You have a choice. Choose the right side of history. It is my hope that years down the road, another school committee will look at this policy revision and laugh at its ludicrousy. Because this is ridiculous, and you all know it. Let's be real for a second. You all know this is wrong. What would your children say if they saw you vote to pass a revision that would suppress student voices? How can you look them in the eye and tell them that they matter in North Kingstown? Think about that. Think about your kids. If you follow your thoughts through to conclusion, the choice is clear. It is my hope that you make the right decision. Thank you, good night, and keep well. I yield my time.
Thank you. So the next person that I see would be Jennifer Lima.
Hi, am I unmuted?
You are good.
Okay, hi. First up, I just want to also take a minute to thank Bob Jones for his service to the school committee, and I recognize all the institutional knowledge that is leaving with him, and again, thank him for his service. So, my name is Jen Lima. I live at 4 Hickory Drive East. I'm speaking tonight in the hopes that you'll reconsider the proposed change to the policy BCF advisory committee as it relates to the student representative. I believe it's important that we encourage student voices to have a seat at the table, both figuratively and literally. And to address the elephant in the room, I would be advocating for this regardless of whose voice it is. This election, the current liaison endorsed me. Who knows what the next liaison will think? This is about the position, not the person. Studies have shown that including students or their Sorry, my dogs are all like jumping up right now. Studies have shown that including students or their perspectives in governing bodies actively engages students in the education system. This generates important feedback and creates a sense of ownership that can lead to higher student performance. Yes, reporting out on a quarterly basis and as requested still allows for student input, but doesn't provide for that same level of buy-in. And I would actually go a step further and say that we should expand on the current policy that states, quote unquote, at least one high school student to take this opportunity to actively recruit participation by students who aren't on the college prep track and or are representatives of the school's minority population. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you. So the next is Cassidy Snyder.
Good evening. My name is Cassidy Snyder, and I live at 10 Coriander Lane, North Kingstown, Rhode Island. I'm also here tonight to speak on behalf of the committee's proposal to remove critical pieces of the student representative role. This role serves as a bridge between the school committee and the students, thus allowing the students who are unable to make a meeting to still have their voices heard regardless of their own presence at said meeting. I've spent a long time trying to find the logical reasoning behind the decision to reduce the power of this position, trying to figure out why the school committee could possibly want to limit the amount of input they receive from their own students. Why would you want to discourage students willing to spend their own time to better our school community? The school committee member of ethics/conduct states in point 4 that you are dedicated to accepting and encouraging, quote, a variety of opinions from and communication with all parts of the community, end quote. Point 5 ensures that you are trying to, quote, promote communication and understanding between the school system and the community, end quote. How can you claim that you are trying to promote communication between the school system and the community and then disable the only student body representation role you have? You took that pledge when you were elected into this position, and now you must stick to your word. One of the most important things that can be done to ensure that your students are being heard is giving us a place to be heard. You are limiting every single student in the North Kingstown School Department's right to voice their own opinions by removing the student representative's right to speak on our behalf. At least from what I see at the high school level, the majority of students participate in at least one extracurricular. Even if there are important issues being addressed at a specific meeting, it is preposterous to suggest that students should just be able to come to the meeting and voice their own opinions. Some students have jobs. Some students are 3-season athletes. Some students have to take care of their family members. The role of the student representative allowed these students to have a voice. By having a permanent spot at the school department table and therefore being able to consistently communicate with the elected members, the student representative was able to speak for those marginalized students who could not do so themselves. By taking this role away from the student body, you are literally directly taking away our right to speak up when we feel that we have been wronged. How could the school department possibly want to limit the input from those who are most impacted by the decisions that are made here? If nothing else comes of this, at the very least, please think about the impact of the decision you're making. By passing this, each member must understand that the student body no longer has faith in you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next person is Annie Etchels.
Hi, I am Annie Etchels, and I live at 27 Hampton Road. I was previously the student representative on the school committee, and I would like to comment on the proposed change to the position. The new policy is crossed out that student liaison will, quote, provide input on behalf of the student body, replacing it with infrequent reports of the student government activity. Even coupled with the special request report that the school committee chair may make, the new report seems to be a meaningless gesture that restricts student involvement in both quantity and subject. And why now? This change was proposed in a short period after the election and before the swearing-in of new members. Is there a reason the school committee feels that these changes need to be made now rather than by those who will see the effects of it? Mr. Boswell, you have asked for Joe's and my opinion on a variety of topics spanning the time that I was one of the student representatives. You claim that you were interested in student voice over my time here, that you were curious and have opinions and interests for the student body. The student representatives have never held power on the school committee, and that's not the purpose of the position. But what it did do was create and maintain a line of respectful communication that allowed us to be a part of the meeting. The school committee seemed perfectly happy with the position until we realized that it could be effective in the exact way it was intended to be. According to the current policy, the purpose of the liaison is, quote, to enhance the effectiveness of North Kingstown School Committee's decision-making practices through consultation from external people and groups. This piece of legislation has no proposed changes, so with the new wording later in the section, I cannot see how it stands. If this is truly the purpose, why are you acting in direct opposition to this ideal? How can you pretend that the proposed changes enhance any sort of communication? At least at the seat at the table and the opportunity to contribute to discussion, students are able to make their voice heard. By limiting student input to the point of being effectively non-existent, you're destroying the freedom that you have. I ask you to be honest. If you're not going to give the students the opportunity to share their thoughts, at least be upfront about it and say outright that you don't want to hear what they have to say. You might as well include an updated version. This unnecessary and self-contained represents how the school committee's gathering sorts of input and student body are not existent. The discrepancy between your claims and your actions shows that you're stripping students of their voice and opinions by making them no more than a regular audience member. This disheartening action is disrespectful to students that care about what they're doing and why they're there. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next person I have here is Calvin Higgins.
Hello and good evening. My name is Calvin Higgins and I'm a senior at North Kingstown High School. My address is 290 Ford Road. I'm against the current role of the student liaison to the North Kingstown School Committee. Members of the student union are students. Students lack life experience, political experience, and qualifications. They are typically unable to formulate strong arguments and develop to emotional rhetoric to support their opinions. Therefore, students require a strong advisor who can guide them through complex policy and ensure they come to the correct conclusions. The superintendent, a powerful member of the school system, should fulfill this role. Superiors, obviously, should oversee their subordinates' criticisms in a properly democratic system. Furthermore, the student union should not speak for the student body. Students already ensure their interests are represented on the school committee by voting in local elections. Even if students could not vote for their school committee members, the student union still should not speak for the student body. This is because few students actually vote in the student union elections. Therefore, the student union would only reflect the views of a small minority. Imagine if this happened on a national level. How could America claim to be a democracy if only a quarter or half the population voted? It would be impossible. It would be absurd. In a properly democratic system, only elections with full voter turnout can be considered acceptable. Clearly, the student union cannot claim to represent the student body. Additionally, in keeping with the American tradition, special interest groups should not be able to lobby public officials. They should absolutely not hold a seat on the school committee. Organizations such as the student union and the teachers union are backed by big education. They represent the top 1% of earners in America. They are not for the people, by the people. They are for the rich, by the rich. What could be more illiberal than that? Well, I have a guess. How about suppressing student voices? How about refusing to recognize the representatives of voteless students? How about students becoming members of the audience to their own fate? How about monitoring student union activity with a mentor? How can students feel entirely free to speak when authority looms over their shoulder? I have no wish to attend these meetings. I'm confident that my student representatives will ensure my voice is heard. I can only hope the student union will continue to represent me into the future. Please table this tyrannical motion. I yield my time.
Thank you. So the next person is, and I only see screen names, so it's Etin Zara Khan.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Good evening. My name is Zara Khan, and I live at 127 Highway Lane. I'm here to speak about the proposed amendments to the student representative position. The North Kingstown School Committee's mission statement states that they strive to instill in students a strong work ethic so that they learn the value of preparation, timelessness, and the importance of being involved in their community. I would say that the committee has been successful in the schools, judging by the many students here today who have prepared statements and are working to ensure that they can continue to be involved in their community, specifically the school community. However, passing these amendments would not be in keeping with the spirit of the mission set forth by this very school committee. This decision will limit student representation and our ability to effectively communicate the grievances and ideas of students. To act productively on the philosophy set forth in your mission statement, the school committee should be encouraging students to participate in committee meetings and work to make it even easier for student representatives to communicate and collaborate with the committee and administration directly. As set in the mission statement, we must inspire students to be involved in their community. We will not be able to do this if these amendments are passed, as they will restrict student involvement in the school. The decisions of the school committee affect us, so we deserve the say and the opportunity to frequently voice our opinions. It is necessary that the student voice be heard. How can this committee effectively lead an educational institution that does what's best for the student when it cannot hear issues from the students' mouths? In order for issues or grievances that students have to be solved, the committee must know the truth of these issues, and the only way to get that is by collaborating with students. I'm asking that you stay true to your mission statement put forth by this committee and table this measure, and encourage students to become active and involved in the school committee rather than limit their ability to do so. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Tim Ryan.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Excellent. My name's Tim Ryan, 70 Bethany Lane in North Kingstown. First thing that I wanted to say was, right off the bat, how proud I am of all these North Kingstown students to come forward and share what they've said already today. I have 2 daughters in the North Kingston School District. I'm also a civics teacher at Portsmouth High School. And one of the things I always preach to my students, as well as my own kids, is that being involved in the political community is critical, and it's part of their civic duty to be involved. So I really want to commend the kids that have come out and have shared their words tonight. As far as what we're seeing as with the Student Liaison Committee, I find it very, I guess, short-sighted and a little disappointing, to be honest with you. I think in these chaotic times, especially, we've gone through a very chaotic election. It's incredibly important for our young people, especially, to feel involved in the political process. And for you to kind of limit what they are able to actually say, I think is definitely a little bit detrimental to the process. There are numerous issues facing our students today. I mean, all of you guys are aware of what's going on with our students. They have limited social contact in our schools. Many are struggling academically and mentally. And having a group of students that actually want to be involved is a tremendous asset. And it's something that, it's a resource that should be encouraged and not discouraged. Based on what I've seen. So I think knowing what the students need is an invaluable resource, and we should definitely be encouraging our students to be engaged in the political process. Ultimately, I hope that you reconsider your proposal of this group. We should be working with our students to make North Kingstown the best school district we can, and having their input is a critical step in that direction. Our students have lost so much due to this pandemic, and to not give students the opportunity to share their concerns is very disturbing and concerning in my opinion. Thank you for your time. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next person is Joey Vento.
Good evening. Adam Fletcher, author of The Meaningful Guide to Students as Partners, once said, "It is not enough to simply listen to a student voice. Educators have an ethical imperative to do something with students, and that is why meaningful student involvement is vital to school improvement." It should come as no surprise as to why I'm speaking tonight. I'm here to defend the position that I've occupied over the last 3 years, and urge you not to proceed with the proposed revision to policy BCF. My role as the student representative to the North Kingstown School Committee has allowed me to learn more about our local education authority than probably any other student in my grade, maybe in my school, maybe in the district. It has also allowed me to share critical information with the school committee and provide input to the school committee on behalf of the student body. But this policy, it's not about me. It's about the role that future student representatives will get to play. This policy proposal is an attack on student voices. It seeks to suppress the student representatives, limiting them to sharing quarterly presentations. It removes them from their seat at the table on the school committee, and it no longer allows them to provide input on behalf of the student body. Instead, it restricts them to only providing updates on what's happening within the student union. All the while, there are crucial questions unanswered. Why do we need to make this policy change? What's wrong with the policy we have now? Why do we need to make this policy revision right now during the lame duck session of the school committee?
spearheaded and brought forth by Ms. Hoskins. And I think, although she's noting her time, but I think her expertise will be very valuable, not only with the policy committee's decision that we're actually doing a major review of these type of special education policies. So I think her expertise will be valuable to the next committee in working these kinds of policies with the policy subcommittee, and also to Dr. Auger and Dr. Mansieri and Dr. Carson with taking a real hard look at some of these things and sort of centralizing them and working on them. I think it's an important effort going forward. So I commend Ms. Hoskins for bringing this up, and the rest of the policy committee folks for agreeing to take on these revisions. I think it's super important when we think about inclusion and the needs of some of our students that these be looked at.
Thank you. So any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And then approval of item D3, which is deleting the administrative regulations. Mr. Judge, you want to speak just for a second? I know sometimes people wonder why we're doing this. I know the policy subcommittee's been trying to streamline our policies a little bit.
Yeah, not briefly, since it's already 9 o'clock. I will just say that, there's been some policies, as our attorney, Ms. Carroll, will point out, are often written in response to either a single event or something that happens, and over time they sort of gather up these individual stuff. And so sometimes we see the need to sort of streamline them, especially I'm guessing that here over the next 6 months there'll be significant revisions to some Title IX and other policies coming out of Washington, D.C. with the new administration. So sometimes it's valuable to sort of consolidate and then leave the implementing regulations to the superintendent and the superintendent's team to flesh them out with more specific details. So Mrs. Hoskins pointed out, I think, a very important element that was missing, and it sort of led to a bigger discussion of the need to take this on over the next 6 months. And so I would definitely recommend the next committee make this one of the major initiatives for the policy subcommittee, and I think Mrs. Hoskins has a lot of expertise to contribute in that area, and I think Dr. Auger and his team have some good ideas on how to both streamline and improve them.
Thank you. So I do need a motion to approve D3, which is deletion of policy JLGBC-R.
So moved.
I have a motion, Mr. Mather.
Second.
Second, Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Any opposed? I should ask, sorry. Passes unanimously. So next in our reports, we have a disposal notification. Any questions on that? And then, as I always point out, our financial statements are here. There continues to be, questions about the school department's transparency with respect to financials. I'm going to point out that they are published in our meeting minutes for everyone to see, including any members of any town committees that have an interest in what the financials look like at this moment, as well as the cash reconciliation report and the check registers, both alphabetically and arranged by dollar amount. So you're welcome to go through those, anyone, and see what we have going on right now. Any questions regarding any of those reports? If not, we've reached our end of